What's up, Mafia? So Howie Roseman just had one of the best draft weekends in Eagles history. A superstar wide receiver, a tight end built for the future, the biggest lineman you've ever seen, and a blockbuster trade for a pass rusher. And a handful of day 3 picks that may turn into something in the future. We're no longer the defending Super Bowl champions. And Howie Roseman is building what comes next. So, let's get it mixing. So let's start where this whole weekend started. Pick 20, Makai Lemon out of USC. Howie Roseman gets on the phone with the Cowboys. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. Trades pick 23, pick 114, and pick 137. 2 fourth-rounders and moves up to number 20. And according to Ian Rappaport, the Pittsburgh Steelers were literally on the line with Makai Lemon at the same moment and were going to take him at pick number 21. They just didn't know that the Eagles had already jumped him.
Come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, why Philly color? Yeah.
Oh, Philly just traded for you.
Hello?
This is Philly. They just traded for you. Philly's taking you right now.
First I answered the phone, and it was the Steelers, and then, my phone kept ringing. I look, and, it's the Eagles. They traded up, and then, they were going to pick me. So, I feel like, everything, happened for a reason. They traded up, so, it means a lot.
Lemon answered the Steelers first, and then the Eagles called. He was gone before Pittsburgh even knew what hit him. That's just classic Howie Roseman. Now, who did the Eagles just get? 2025 Biletnikoff Award winner. The best receiver in college football. 79 catches, 1,156 yards, 11 touchdowns, and a Pro Football Focus grade of 90.8. Highest of any receiver in college last year. And on top of that, he's only had 1 drop in 110 targets. Lemon is the real deal. The Athletic's Dan Bregler called him a smooth, manipulative route runner who already plays like a pro. NFL analyst Daniel Jeremiah ranked him 12th in the entire draft. He called him a wide receiver with a running back's body. And draft analyst Brian Baldinger broke down tape showing contested catch after contested catch.
Looking at Makai Lemon, the newest Eagle right here. Little stutter and go, that's all he needs. Contested catches, oh yeah, it's not a problem. Not for Makai Lemon. And tough and explosive. I mean, his career, a lot of it was from the slot, but really he can line up anywhere, all right? But you just watch like this right here, the spray fade right here, and the adjustment to the ball. Contested, once contested catch after another, and great hands. Dropped a total of 3 passes in the last 2 years for the Trojans.
He's fearless over the middle, releases clean, and he adjusts to everything. And the comparison that everyone is landing on is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Slot specialist, elite after the catch, and makes defenders miss. And Lemon actually said that he models his game after Amon-Ra St. Brown. And if he gets anywhere close to that, the Eagles definitely got themselves a monster. And to me, this was definitely the steal of round 1. I honestly didn't think that Lemon would be a real possibility, but here we are. Howie Roseman doing what Howie Roseman does best. And yes, after that move, we definitely have to say this out loud. It seems like A.J. Brown is gone. The Eagles just told you without actually telling you. Just look at this receiver room. Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown, Makai Lemon. Every single one of them, route runners. Every single one of them can work the slot. That is the offense that Sean Mannion is building. Watch Green Bay tape. Watch the Rams tape. That's the picture. And as Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer pointed out, the Eagles drafted Lemon based on value. But I'm sorry, you don't trade 2 fourth-rounders to move up for a receiver while A.J. Brown is still on your roster. Unless something bigger is coming. Devontae Smith is your number 1. There's no debate about that. For the first time in his career, he gets to be that guy. Lemon slides in next to him, and this duo is going to stress out defenses every single week. I was always on the side of keeping A.J. Brown in Philadelphia, but taking a wide receiver in the first round tells me exactly what I need to know. Now it's all but certain. All that's left to do is wait until June. And one more thing on Lemon before we do move on. The last time the Eagles traded with Dallas in round 1 was in 2021. Philadelphia took Devontae Smith, and Dallas took Micah Parsons. Both those moves defined the franchises. 5 years later, Howie goes back to Dallas in round 1 and comes away with a Biletnikoff winner. The same award Devontae Smith won at Alabama. If Lemon becomes what the Eagles believes he can be, Dallas will have been on the wrong side of the first round trade with Philadelphia twice in 5 years. Now, on to the move that won night 2 of the entire draft. Not just for Philadelphia, but for everyone. Adam Schefter broke it down during the draft. The Eagles send pick 98 this year and a 3rd rounder next year to the Vikings. In return, the Eagles receive Jonathan Greenard and a 7th round draft pick. And they lock him up immediately with a 4-year, $100 million deal, with $50 million guaranteed. Here's why the cost is insane. Jalen Phillips signed with Carolina this offseason for 4 years, $120 million. That's $30 million a year. With Greenard, who's had 2 12-sack seasons in the last 3 years, he signed for $25 million a year, $5 million less annually, for a better pass rusher. His pass rush run rate last year was 23.3%, despite a shoulder injury that limited him to 12 games last year. According to Pro Football Focus, that ranked 4th among edge rushers if he was qualified. Now, put him next to Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, and Jalen Hunt. That defensive line is going to be a nightmare for every quarterback in the NFC. We've been talking about this move for months, and when we got to the 3rd round and we didn't trade for him immediately, I honestly got worried and thought that there was a shift in the plans, because most of the top edges were already taken. And then, boom, Greenard's already on our roster, and we have our edge rusher of the future. Then at pick 54, round 2, Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. Mackey Award winner, best tight end in college football last year. 62 catches, 769 yards, with 4 touchdowns. But the combine, that's what really separated him from other tight ends. With a 45.5-inch vertical, he broke the all-time tight end record. 11.3 broad jump, that's also a record. He transitioned from a quarterback to a tight end, which means he's still learning the position. His blocking, that can definitely use some work, but Dallas Goedert is still on our team, at least for 1 more year. Stowers gets a redshirt season, learning from the best tight end that this franchise has ever had. This is the tight end of the future for Philadelphia. Round 3, pick 68, Markel Bell out of Miami. He's a name we mentioned before in our top 30 visit video. He's 6'9", 340 pounds, longest arms of any lineman drafted in the last 10 years with 37 inches. 0 sacks allowed in 558 pass blocking snaps last year at Miami. He's raw, and he definitely needs development. But Lane Johnson and Joey Mailata are right there to teach him. And eventually, when Lane Johnson retires and walks off into the sunset, Bell will be his replacement plan, and I'm all down for that move. On day 3, the Eagles added depth all across the board. The Eagles draft quarterback Cole Payton out of North Dakota State. That's the same college that gave us Carson Wentz. He's a dual threat quarterback, 9.87 relative athletic score. A left-handed quarterback who can run, who adds real competition to the quarterback room behind Jalen Hurts. Next, there's Michael Morris out of Georgia, a 6th round guard with a 9.96 relative athletic score. He has starter potential if the technique gets cleaned up. At safety, the Eagles draft Cole Wieniewski out of Texas Tech. And this is most likely just to have some depth at safety. He's a good tackler, solid in the run game. 78 tackles last year for the Red Raiders. He also gives you good special team value. And then there's Keyshawn James Newley out of New Mexico at edge rusher. 20 combined sacks in his final 2 college seasons. 5th highest pressure rate among edge defenders in the FBS last year, according to Pro Football Focus. And finally, Uwar Bernard, the biggest story of the entire draft. A Nigerian defensive tackle from the International Pathway Program. Never played a snap of football before, but at 6'4", 306 pounds, 6% body fat, and the fastest 40-yard dash ever recorded by a player over 300 pounds at 4.63. And remember, Joey Mailata never played a snap of football either. And you already know how that turned out. This is a player that can be developed. This is a player with a lot of upside. He has all the physical traits to be a great football player. All he needs is technique and reps. And technique can definitely be taught. So, where do I grade all the players that we got during this draft? Makai Lemon's gonna get an A. Eli Stowers also gets an A. The trade for Greenard, that gets an A+. Markel Bell, solid B with A+ upside. Day 3 as a whole, I'll give that a B-. But on Bernard, I'm gonna have to give him an incomplete. But the ceiling is definitely there. The overall draft grade, I'm gonna give it an A. And maybe an A+ depending on what we get back for AJ Brown if he is to be traded. I kept saying that I would have loved to get a plug-and-play safety because we're weak at that position with the departure of Reed Blankenship. And Emmanuel McNeil Warren was there at that position, but we chose not to draft him. But I guess Howie Roseman had different plans for that position. So where are we right now? A year ago, we were Super Bowl champions. Now, this year, we're building the next version of this team. And we're building it fast. Devontae Smith and Makai Lemon on the outside, and Eli Stowers growing into the tight end of the future. Markel Bell learning behind two of the best tackles in the NFL, and Jonathan Greenard terrorizing quarterbacks alongside of Jalen Carter. Howie Roseman came into the draft with questions. He left with answers. Is this roster perfect? No. Safety is definitely still a concern. We'll definitely see what this offseason brings. But this team is stacked, and the direction is clear. The Eagles just don't rebuild, they reload. Now it's all a matter of how and if they fit into the Eagles version of the future. And if you haven't already, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And turn on that notification bell, because this offseason has just started and the Eagles are far from done. And drop your grades in the comments section. What do you think of this Eagles draft? What was your best pick? And what was your biggest concern? Drop it in the comment section and let me know. And once again, I've been Brother Shy, and this has been the Midnight Green Mafia.